the National Party have released policy, and in an innovation which I think is quite enterprising, they have decided to hold or conduct a series of policy webinars that have been organised by my next guest, the Member of Parliament for Taupo, I think it's still Taupo, Louise Upston, and she joins us now. Louise, welcome to the show. Good morning. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Good morning, Michael. Great to be with you.
You're still the MP for Taupo, aren't you?
Yes, and Taupo or Taupo, depending on your pronunciation.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is year 15. Love the job.
And you did very well at the last election, because at a time when there was a red tide sweeping the country and sweeping people away from safe national seats, you held on to your own. That's a pretty considerable achievement, Louise.
Yes, and I think I've never really considered that anyone has a safe seat. The job is to earn the right to represent your community. And it doesn't just happen 3 months out from an election. And so it's just about doing the job on the day, listening and working hard and advocating for your community.
Okay, now, as I said in the introduction to this, there is a widespread feeling of unease and anxiety throughout New Zealand. It doesn't matter where you look at, whatever the indicators are, whether it's the cost of living, whether it's crime, whether it's co-governance and the associated ethnic issues abound around there, education, state of education, state of our public hospital systems. Automatically, all of those things, if they're all happening at the same time, and they are, you would expect the government of the day to be swept away. Why isn't this government being swept away as illustrated in polling results?
Well, I think the first thing is there is only one poll that counts, and that's election day. And as you quite rightly said in your introduction, and actually I think MMP means that every election is a close one. And so the National Party is just doing the work, looking at the challenges that New Zealand face, whether it's the cost of living crisis, whether it's rising crime. And we've been working hard to come up with policies that solve some of those challenges. And the policy explainer sessions that you talked about are about making sure our members have the opportunity to listen to our spokespeople, to ask questions directly, because it is important that the discussions we have with voters all over the country, they know what the solutions are that we're proposing.
Are you also road testing your policies as well, so that you're saying your members will give you some feedback saying, oh, that's not going to work, or have you thought about this, so that I guess when you do release them again, because you will in the sort of weeks leading up to the election, you can fine-tune them?
So that's a process that happens earlier. So we have a really robust policy development process in the party with policy advisory groups and specialist areas, as well as kind of regional opportunities for spokespeople and members to engage and do, as you call it, that road testing. We're really fortunate in the National Party to have experts in a wide range of areas, and they're an important part of us developing policies. So these policy explainers are, once we've done the work, launched the policy, and then it's just coming back to members to then remind them of what it is we've announced and answer any questions they've got, because we know our members are a really important part of our team on the ground influencing voters.
Now, when I was involved in the National Party a long time ago, last century, for Pete's sake, last century.
Well, that's a long time ago, Michael.
It is. And in a similar position to yourself, the National Party used to boast that it had membership upwards of 150, in the heyday, 200,000. Those sort of numbers are not around now. Why have people stopped joining political parties?
Well, I think it's common to a range of different areas. People are joining less organisations. They are volunteering less. So I think there's a range of different reasons. But what is really important to us is that we connect and engage with our members, that we utilise their support, their expertise and their networks in developing policies, because at the heart of what we want to do is when we, if we're fortunate to be in government after the 14th of October, to actually do what works and deliver. And
that's the next bit. Yeah, well, then that's the next bit, because what I'm getting here is, yes, but will they do it? Whether it's Three Waters or police and gangs, through to changes around education curriculum, and all of these things are going to require. The first thing is there's the policy, so there's the alternative you've got to the existing status quo. But the second thing, it's going to require enormous political will to actually make those things happen, with a bureaucracy that may not be sympathetic towards you in Wellington. So I guess cut a long story short, are you actually going to do these things, Louise, or is your aim we would like to?
We are putting forward proposals that we will deliver. And one of the things that's critical when there is a change of government is the first 100 days. Having ministers in charge of portfolios who are clear about what they're going to deliver. And that's why the work that has gone on to this point to develop policies has been with members, has been with stakeholders, has been with, in my case, in Welfare That Works, with community organisations, because we know that we have to deliver and turn the ship. So if you look at unemployment, for example, we've got 50,000 more job seekers than we did 6 years ago, at a time in the last few years that businesses everywhere have been desperate for staff. Well, I'm not willing for young people to be left on welfare and to oversee what Labor has, which is a growing level of welfare dependency. So in terms of the policies we've come up with, are very careful, they're very considered, and they are very much focused on outcomes we can deliver. And I do think there'll be some areas of things that we might like to do, but actually they will be on the back burner. We have to focus on policies, announcing policies that we can deliver that get an outcome, because that is very clear from people you speak to, no matter where you are in the country. They've had a gutful of empty words and nothing changing.
Yes.
And there are so many areas that need fixing, whether it's law and order, whether it's health, whether it's education. Cost of living still is the one that's concerning more New Zealanders than anything.
You're talking about having a first 100 days. Is that a specific manifesto that says, if we are elected in the first 100 days, we're going to do this? Is it right? You're actually going to do that leading into the election? No.
So that's for us as spokespeople. So knowing if we're successful in the election, then what you do in the first 100 days as a minister is what sets up the next 3 years.
Yep.
So I'm clear about what I need to do. I'm clear we launched the Welfare That Works policy last year, and that is the priority.
So in other words, the first 100 days is really wrangling your department to actually get them on board as to where you want the policy direction to go in the next 3 years.
Absolutely. It is setting the direction. It is providing leadership. It is being clear about what your priorities are as the incoming minister, as opposed to just floating around in the wind and doing what the department thinks you should do.
Well, and that's the issue.
I mean, leadership.
Well, and you've had a bit of time now in opposition to think about this. Do you perceive the bureaucracy in Wellington to be some of the part of the problem?
No, I just think that an incoming government needs to provide leadership and direction to the government departments. If you look back at when Labor came in 6 years ago, they had lifting 100,000 children out of poverty. They had building 100,000 Kiwi build homes. Mm-hmm. Where was the plan? Where was the detail? Where was the implementation of how they were going to get those things done? So was anyone surprised to see that they've failed in those big commitments and those big promises? Well, National's unwilling to be in a position where that happens. So we have policies. We will have, as individual spokespeople, plans about what we do if we're fortunate to be in charge, and to provide that leadership and direction to the government departments that we are responsible for.
Mm. Now, you've also got ACT sitting on your right. Presumably there will be, if you are elected, some form of post-election coalition agreement. Do you see any difficulty putting the jigsaw together, the dovetailing the policies of both National and ACT?
Well, I mean, I'm not looking at ACT's policies. I'm looking at National's policies and making sure that National wins as many party votes as possible so that we can deliver the policies that we have outlined. Yes, any post-MMP environment, there are no doubt negotiations and discussions, but that's for another day. The focus for me and for the National Party is winning party votes for National so we can change the government. That is priority number one.
Co-governance has been a huge issue. I'm sure it is with your membership as well. I just gave an example yesterday. I sit on the Otago Regional Council. We were given 50% of a governance responsibility to 3% of the population in Otago because they're local iwi. And on something as critical as the maintenance and implementation of freshwater standards. Has that been something, because I haven't seen a policy come out except on Three Waters saying we're opposed to co-governance of Three Waters, but co-governance is going through a lot of other areas in local government as well. When do we expect to see policies around those issues, Louise?
Well, the leader's been clear about our position on co-governance of public services and given examples like Three Waters and also the fact that we will not have a Māori health authority. We need to be ensuring, and I think this is the concern New Zealanders have, they want to see better services in health and education. They want to feel safer in their homes and communities. And it is those services that count. And co-governance, I think, is a massive distraction in terms of getting the outcomes we need for New Zealanders. Three Waters, we've seen today a massive blowout in costs. And for many New Zealanders, they're shaking their heads to say, well, what's the problem anyway? What they're worried about more is how to pay their rent, how to pay their mortgage, how to pay for petrol. And so National's very much focused on the issues that New Zealanders are the most worried about, and they're the ones I've just outlined. We've got to be focused on improving results in those areas. And I get that co-governance is a concern for some, and seeing it in local government settings like you've just outlined. I'm sure our spokesperson will have more to say about that in the future, but that is not the top priority I hear on a daily basis. It's not to say it's not important; it is, but it's not it's not the issue that people are losing sleep over at the moment.
Yeah, I beg.
In terms of those issues that I talked about, and I don't want to in any way, shape, or form minimise the issue. I know it is concerning for many, and that's why we've been clear about Three Waters. We're clear about getting rid of the Māori Health Authority, and we need to focus on the need of New Zealanders. So in health, for example, we want to focus on supporting people to get operations, cancer treatment, less times in ED, no matter what your ethnicity is. And that's where our focus will continue to be every day up to the election.
Okay.
And beyond.
And finally, just Chippy's in China at the moment. It's a fractious relationship. But while that is happening, there's more trouble at home, this time around Kiri Allen and her conduct or not in terms of her office and the ministers. Another minister to join Nash, Faituri, who's the other one? Wood. Is there a perception that you have on your side of the House that the Labour Party are cracking up under stress because of all these ministerial, or are they just simply individual aberrations that sometimes happen?
Well, collectively, it is a sign of a government that's struggling. And I think the problem with that is at a time that New Zealanders are struggling with a recession and a cost of living crisis, they want to see that the government is focused on them and their challenges and not their own and their own personal issues. And I'm sure that the Prime Minister will be pretty frustrated that more of this is going on. At the end of the day, that is a distraction. The government's focus should be on solving the real challenges that New Zealanders are facing today.
All right. Thank you, Louise. Thank you for spending the time with us. I appreciate it. No, you're busy, and we'll talk again soon. Very best of luck to you.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay, goodbye. All right. Actually, there's a bit of a not a family connection there. That's all right. I'll explain it all one time. But her father-in-law was my deputy principal at school. I know, in Wanganui.